And joining us now, Montana Senator Jon Tester. He voted against both of President Trump's Supreme Court nominees, yet won re-election in 2018 in a state that Trump won by 21 points in 2016. He is out with a new book, Grounded, a senator's lessons from winning back rural America. Thanks so much for your time, Senator.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
So we'll get to your book in just a moment, but first I want to start with the passing of RBG and the fight to fill her seat. ABC is out with a new poll today that says 57% of Americans support waiting until after the election. Republicans, though, seem intent on moving forward anyway. Are you and your Democratic colleagues going to try and slow up the process or focus on retaliation after the fact if the nominee does go through? What's the game plan here?
Well, I think the biggest thing that Democrats can do right now is talk about the impact the replacement's going to have on everyday people's lives and how it's so important that we take the time to do this right and that we let the American people have a say in this through the election. People have already started voting. And so that's how I would approach it. Look, initially it was trying to get 4 people to come on over from the Republican side because the sense of fair play, that didn't happen. Senator McConnell whipped them into shape, and now they're going to try to force this through before the election, when in fact it should be done after the new president's sworn in and after Congress has been sworn in. And I will tell you, those were the rules when we had a Democratic president, and you can't be changing the rules just because you have a Republican president versus a Democratic president.
You've previously been resistant to the idea of getting rid of the filibuster. We talked with your colleague, Senator Manchin, yesterday, who's opposed to getting rid of it. If Democrats win back this Senate, would you vote to abolish the filibuster? If so, would you support adding states or expanding the court?
So what I hope happens if Democrats win the majority in the Senate is that we're able to find folks who are willing to work and compromise and come up with good legislation. I think what we saw when Harry Reid was majority leader, oftentimes the Republicans just stonewalled things because they could. And that's unacceptable. There's too many things in this country that need to be fixed, and we need to have an act of Congress to get that done. And so I'm open to continue to try to find folks on both sides of the aisle to work together to get good legislation done. Now let's just say for a second that all the Republicans do is stonewall, stonewall, stonewall. I also didn't go to Washington, D.C. to sit on my hands and get nothing done. So if that's the case, then we'll probably have to take a look at the rules. But I am in hopes that folks will work together like in the days of Mike Mansfield.
And as you're well aware, the president refused to commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he does not win the election and cast out without evidence of vote-by-mail fraud. This year, it might take days or even weeks to know who won as mail-in votes are counted. Are you worried that the Trump administration might try and stop vote counting before it's even complete?
Well, we better not, and that's unacceptable. It should be unacceptable to everybody in this country, regardless of your political persuasion. And what he said about transfer of power is unacceptable. And quite frankly, hopefully, we can get the 3 co-equal branches of government to act like that and be checks and balances on one another. Look, this country is the greatest country in the world because we have had that peaceful transfer of power. And we cannot stand for someone, whoever it is, in this case, President Trump, to upset that because it would set us back significantly in this country.
And you are the Senate's only farmer. In your book, Grounded, you talk about the keys to appealing to rural voters, saying that effective leadership requires being open to everything. It means making room for the voices that haven't been heard enough across our nation and in our rural communities. Take us inside the mind of a rural voter who might have voted for Obama in 2012, but then switched to Trump in 2016, but is now on the fence. How does Joe Biden win this voter back?
Well, he needs to, first of all, listen to him. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Act accordingly. Listen to hthem. What they're going to tell him is that family farm agriculture right now is on the brink of becoming non-existent. And that they're also going to tell him there's some things we can do, like break up the monopolies in our food system and make it so capitalism works once again in that food system. They'll tell them other things too, like we've got to do some things to make sure our transportation infrastructure is up to snuff, and we've got to make sure that public schools are indeed the best they can be. Look, the bottom line is I think that if Democrats show up and they listen they're going to find out that a lot of the issues that Democrats stand for are the very same issues they're going to hear are concerned in rural America. You got to show up, you got to be authentic, you got to listen, and then speak.
I like that, the 2 ears and 1 mouth. Now, finally, Montana has elected only 3 Republican senators since World War I and hasn't elected a Republican governor since 2000. The current governor, Democrat Steve Bullock, is running to unseat Senator Steve Daines. In your book, you reflected on your successful 2018 campaign, saying that a victory would require a perfect campaign. As we enter an increasingly divisive political climate, what makes Montana a political oddity of sorts? And does Bullock need a perfect campaign in order to win a state that Trump likely will carry by a large margin in November?
Well, he has so far ran a very good campaign, and he'll continue to do that. I think what makes Montana different politically and why people tend to split tickets in Montana is that we've got Democrats and we've got Republicans, we've got independents, and they're all libertarians. And quite frankly, when they go to the polls, they like to vote for somebody who's going to go to work for them, not for the party, and they're going to work to make this country great. And quite frankly, that's why Donald Trump caught on 4 years ago. That's what he talked about. And that's why, quite frankly, Steve Bullock is going to win this Senate seat, because he talks about things he's done and things he's going to do to keep Montana the last best place and to keep this nation the greatest country in the world. And I think that that will bear out in the election in November. And like I said, I don't know that he has to run an absolutely perfect race, but you can't make many mistakes. If you do, it'll take you out. And he's done a very, very good job so far. And I think that will continue. Senator
Tester, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.